Good morning, Olympia. How is everyone this morning? Shall we take a look at some of our little campsites here? It's really early. It just feels a little bit light because it's summer, but it's been a little while since we've driven around. I've got a little kitty at home who's been sick, and so we've been giving her a little bit of extra. And she's the one who actually went up to the state and went into the state buildings. You've maybe seen her on some things, and so she's part of the crew too. She's part of the crew, darn it. So we are sad about that, but she was gotten very old, and she had lived her whole life in a little cage, and she had been forced to breed other kitties. It's just really horrible. And so when we got her, she was very enthusiastic to be out of a cage and into wild and crazy Olympia neighborhoods, and was efficiently a good and very nosy journalist. So I love you, Fanny. And so we've just been kind of home with her, just loving her. Okay, we have got a full out Burning Man here, because it's early and it's a Saturday, which I love, as you all know, because there's no shirkers. No shirkers. The other day I photographed a bunch, and then, wow, like a whole bunch kind of started to come after me. And they were all like, once again, it's like they're stepping right off the plane and right into executive government jobs. And I know that you guys probably are laughing about that, but this started happening a while back. And I remember when I first came back to Olympia after a hiatus in New York, I saw this building that said, small business owners, like women in minority business, that they would help out. And I had just started a publishing company. I was publishing books, and thought, wow, I could really use some help. And there's this building, and it was this little building downtown. You never saw anyone come and go from it, just sort of very in the shadows. Right now, it has been emptied out. It doesn't really exist anymore. I don't know if they moved it, but I got all excited about it. I was like, yeah, I'm a small business owner and I'm going to go in there. And there was this man in there in this office. It was, like I said, a little building with just like a secretary and him. And I went in, and first of all, he looked shocked that someone actually had entered the place. So basically, it was this guy in his lair, and he said, we cannot help you. We can do nothing. And then he handed me a pamphlet. I give you pamphlet. And he ushered me out the door. So, that's basically what an executive position is. It's not even doing something like a cleaning job or a, food service job where you're, feeding these people that shouldn't be there in the first place and cleaning up after people that shouldn't be there in the first place. But these high executive jobs, that's all they have to do is just not answer the phone and act very self-important. And I started seeing him around town because I knew who he was, and I'd walk by restaurants and he'd be very self-important, having lunch with a minister or a somebody about town, and he was a man about town, and he had the minority and women's small business thing and blah blah blah. And yet all he had done was push a pamphlet in my hand and push me out the door and tell me, you don't have to come back here. Come back here. Now I get in trouble for using accents, and it's like, hey, Hollywood. Once again, Hollywood told us how funny accents were, and look at Peter Sellers, and oh, he's so funny, he do Chinese so good, and then as soon as like everybody else picks up on it, that racist, do that racist. Now Hollywood going to tell you how to be and how to act. So to me, Hollywood is just the same thing as psychic driving, something to be avoided at all costs. And yes, I still think one of the greatest books ever written was Four Arguments for the Elimination of Television by our good friend, you know what? Shall we go over to this awful abortion clinic and see what the deal is over here? Should we? I mean, really, that they would have a place called Boom under the Planned Parenthood. And I do want to do something about the fact that they're selling the body part art. It's called Posh Monster Jewelry at schools. Okay, people, so they're going around to school. So let's see what the latest thing is. Okay, wow. Okay, now we've got a Chinese woman here. Alex Jones says that right now, the main group coming over are Chinese women, and they're filling up the hospitals and popping them out left and right. And as soon as the baby pops out, it's an American citizen. And I guess that like the hospitals in Austin, Houston, even around here, Seattle, I zoomed in on them because that was a Chinese couple that has just moved in to this new building right here. It's just crazy, right? And they're telling me not to take a shower, right? I've got Agenda 21 at my door telling me to not take a shower and how overpopulated we are. You know, and I used to fall for that. And I still think we're like overpopulated. But you know what? If you're bringing in as many immigrants as you can like fit through the border desert from one way to another and fill every plane up and get every criminal, third world, whatever, baby poppers, breeding like roaches, all that stuff, then just, you know, screw you, right? Like, I'm not even, like, I am so mad right now. You know, they're lucky, I don't know, I was going to say, they're like, the government's lucky that they're shut down today, but not like I could do much. But yeah, what is this? I Love Olympia. So they're having like little kids. Okay, so here's your little psychic reading lady here. What's she going to psychically tell people? You are going to have an abortion. There's an abortion happening above you right now. A baby is being killed. You know, because we told everyone to be promiscuous, that in Olympia you're not cool unless you're like pansexual and like having sex with prisoners or those poor, you know, Muslim men that just don't know how to hold it in. You know, you've just got to go be with them. Yeah, and those are the women that get Section 8, by the way, and all that. You're paying for all that. Oh, they made bad choices. That was always my favorite one. These women that, you know, I know why. I remember I lived here and I moved away and came back. And like a huge amount of women had like gotten just weird, horrible diseases. And I'm like, how did that happen? And they're like, well, she got together with so-and-so and so-and-so. And it's like, what? Like, who in their right mind would do that? Oh, she made a bad choice, right? And, you know, had sex with the African guy who had AIDS because she felt bad for him because, you know, it was sad he was from the third world, right? And one of these women, it was really funny because she ended up having this third world child. She was really rich and from Santa Barbara. So she had this third world child, and then she moved to the most redneck town in Washington, in eastern Washington, the most prejudiced town, and raised that poor child there. And I always thought that was like a completely bizarre thing. I had a friend, unfortunately he died, but we used to just look at each other and go, wow. You know, it's almost like a man doing everything they can to genetically be able to have a baby so they can abort it or something, right? I'm going to go do everything I can and find an African man and have an African baby. And then I'm going to have no money and I'm going to move to Eastern Washington to like the Aryan Nation. And so I'm sure that kid is pretty screwed up. From what I heard, she moved to China and is part of a whole Chinese thing now, like part of a Chinese propaganda radio about how bad America is. And it's like, if you want someone to hate America, right, go and have a mixed race child and then go live in like a town like that. So, that's kind of weird. It's almost like, was she part of a breeding program? How can anyone be that consciously insane as to do something like that with their life? And the woman, and then the guy did have AIDS as well. So like the whole family has AIDS on top of it. But it was like, I have to do this because it's politically correct to somehow, I don't know, have sex with strangers with AIDS and get pregnant by them. It's kind of like the ultimate leftist goal or something, right? She probably just thought she was like doing the best thing since sliced bread. And who were her teachers, right? Who taught her that in the first place, I guess. So once again, here is this vision of the Obongo building with our little art beneath it here. Someone's probably sleeping under that American flag right now. It is country of immigrant. It is country of immigrant. Wow. You can really get the views of the mountains from there on a nice day. We can't really get them from down here in the tunnels. Wow. Okay, everyone, this is as close as I'm getting in. And you all have the best day ever. Happy, happy. Bye.